Hello and welcome to another episode of FTB Sky Factory 2.5. My name is Twin Minds, and today I'm going to solve some problems. Or at least I hope so. The first problem is that my pick is almost gone. As you can see, I have some more bonuses on there: Reinforced 2, Redstone, and Quartz. Redstone adds haste, so it mines faster, and Quartz adds damage. Now, I did not add these myself. They leveled up on their own as I was doing things with them. So sharpness, not necessarily too useful on a pick, but I will take it anyway. So to solve that problem where it is almost gone, I got this ball of moss. This is from Tinker's Construct, and this is one of the bonuses that you can add manually to one of your Tinker's tools. This actually came from one of the loot bags that was being acquired through this thing. I've just been collecting the loot bags and hoping for the best. Now, the other thing that I can do to repair my tool is with an iron ingot. So first off, I'm going to add the moss, which adds this lovely green tone to most of the pick. Now this will add auto repair, as it says there. It is slow, so it is not something that will keep you going for long periods of time. But it will, as you can see there, it just ticked up. It will slowly refill the damage bar on the pick. But I do, no, I won't use an ingot. I have a few, but not enough. So I will let that repair on its own, and hopefully that will keep me going. Now, through this, you can see that I got a few other materials, including gold coins from Thaumcraft. That comes from Thaumcraft's own loot bag. Where you typically will get gold coins in some quantity, as well as usually a potion or two, plus some random possible other loot, which in this case I've gotten at least one diamond from those. I got Yellorium, not too useful right now, but it does say that Big Reactors is in this pack, and I will be doing a Big Reactor at some point or another. Now, the other problem that I have to solve is storage and loot problems. I am full just about everywhere. I've gotten a lot of random stuff from the loot bags, and while that is handy, and too much stuff is always a good problem to have, it does make it difficult to store things when I need to store things, or heck, even find things when I need to find things. The problem obviously is caused by this thing here with all the loot bags and all of the stuff that's coming from them. If you take a peek in here, you can see that there are plenty of mobs just kind of chilling around with loot everywhere. And this box is nearly full. So that is causing me some issues. Good issues, obviously. I'd like having lots of stuff, but issues nonetheless. A bacon bag. Ooh, that's new. I can only assume that there's bacon inside of there, but we will see. As you can tell, I lowered the sound of the mobs because they were getting a little bit overwhelming. And let's kill a few here just to clean stuff out. That was a mob that had a damaging property on it of some kind, so I took a little bit of hit from that. Oh dear. Loot ahoy. I'll put that in there and that in there. Well, that box is full. So I'm going to have to deal with this. Now, most of this stuff can be used for various purposes. I haven't had any plans for it yet, but it's definitely a thing that could happen. Bone obviously has many uses. Arrows, not so many uses, but I do have a plan for that as well. So let's cover that back up, because this hole is actually what causes loot to go flying. And let's get started with my list. Now, I have made a list, and I think top on that list has to be a loot recycler. So a loot recycler is from the loot bags mod. And it is relatively easy to make. Just some stone, a chest, and an iron ingot. So let's start with that. Iron ingot. I have cooked up some stone. And a chest. Now, one hazard of the way I put this setup here is the crafting station was previously checking this chest, and I could access my materials, but it can only handle one at a time, and it has chosen this one as its preferred location, so I no longer have easy access to my materials, but that's quite alright. So that is the loot recycler. Now the fun thing about the loot recycler, and I can definitely automate this at a later time, is it got a really simple inventory here. Let's take some stuff. I don't know what exactly it accepts, but let's take a couple things. A bow went in there just fine. You see it disappeared, but nothing happened. Bone. Those disappeared just fine. So what it's doing is it is taking all of the junk loot, and it has a random chance to create a bag. Oh, they changed it. It is stored loot value now, so as it acquires stuff, I'm assuming it just generates a bag once it reaches up to that 2,000 mark. Its loot value, notice it says 234. I did not put in 234 items, so my guess is that each item has its own value of sorts that gets added to the pile. I have seen this in another pack where mostly you just get common loot bags. That's fine. Common loot bags have some pretty nice stuff in there. Let's see, I believe redstone comes from loot bags. However, that one comes from uncommon. I don't recall exactly what would come from a common loot bag to check that, but as you can see, lots of stuff comes from these bags. So even if it is just a common, commons are nice and handy. So what I will probably do is feed all of those arrows into the loot recycler, because I do believe arrows go in. Oh lordy, so much stuff. Let's grab a handful of arrows to clean out that, and some more bags, because why not? Oh, someone gave me a chest. Interesting. Alright. Can I shift click? Yes, you can. Wonderful. So I'm going to dump in a whole bunch of arrows, and I got a loot bag. 2 loot bags. Well, that's nice. So I will be automating that at some point or another. I don't know when exactly, but it will happen. That will help keep that box relatively free. Now the other thing that I know, I'm going to have to get rid of all these witches' hands. Let's see if they recycle. They do not recycle. Wonderful. So that means that these will have to be manually taken care of through some other means, like a trash can or something like that. But the other thing that can be done, these common loot bags, they open up into their own inventory like so. However, if you shift right click on a chest, it automatically dumps the contents into that chest. So that is one way that we can automate through something like a autonomous activator kind of thing. But as you can see here, I have practically no space left. So I need to take care of some of this stuff pretty soon, or I'm not going to have anywhere to put things. I am curious though, what's in the bacon bag? Pork. Of course. Why not? Another thing I got from loot, somewhere in here, I think it's in this chest, is a Baconator. Baconator is a new mod to me, so I know very little about it, but it seems to hold various types of food, so you have a single space to put everything and eat from that. So that will be handy. I will see what I can do to make use of that, if it's useful or not. But I do need to take care of some inventory space here, so I might do some manual loot recycling for a bit to clean up some space, and then I will be back. Alright, I don't think I solved any problems, and I may have made it worse. There's more stuff. So, I'm going to take a break from that, and instead go for some of the quality of life improvements that I was kind of planning on for today as well. The first one, which actually will help with some of this, is that I need a pulverizer, which means I also need a generator. So I'm going to do that. I need some wood, and I've got cobble on me. So the first things first is a furnace generator. It may not be the best one, but it's the one that I feel is the most useful to me right now. Unless I could do a pair of Stirling generators, but they're not very efficient fuel-wise. Yeah, I'll just go with the furnace generator, because these can actually be upgraded to different options later as well. So they will be handy regardless. It is pricey though, it is quite a lot of iron. The Stirling generator would be much cheaper, but I like this option better. So first off, a block of iron and a furnace, which I will need another one of those, so I'll go ahead and make that. And then the rest of the recipe is easy there. Now the other thing that may help is a culinary generator. I do have some food options available, and it's very possible that this will also work with zombie flesh. So it might be worth building anyway. So that's a survivalist generator, which is a piston. And then the culinary is, what am I missing? Ah, another furnace, okay. And culinary. So between these two generators, I should have plenty of power. Now I should also look into an energy cell of sorts. I don't think I have the... Actually, I probably do have the invar for that. But this is where the tricky bit is. A block of redstone. I do have some, so let's go with that. Do I have enough lead? I do. Okay. And I need sand for glass, which I do not have currently, so I will be back as I cook that up. Alright, so I forgot that I was looking at the recipe for just the frame, so the actual leadstone energy cell requires a little bit more copper and electrum, so I'm cooking that up right now. My glass is done. The smeltery does auto mix into the alloy. And I will get my electrum poured out into my ingot cast. I need one of those. And then my leadstone. Oops, forgot to grab my copper. And boom, leadstone energy cell. So, let's put this stuff down somewhere. Obviously I don't have a good place to put any of it yet, but it'll have to do. So this is the energy cell. I think I want front output. And then the furnace generator can go, I don't know, on top. And this can go on the side there, so any energy that they produce will go into the leadstone energy cell. Let's start feeding it a little bit of charcoal. Power level is 40. I think that's referring to 40 RF per tick. It's ticking too fast for me to tell. But I think that's what that 40 means. The culinary generator can burn off stuff. So let's see if this does work. It does. Power level 16. So that's 16 RF per tick from rotten flesh. That's not too shabby. Not great, obviously, but it's something. And I have no other use for the rotten flesh currently. There are plenty of uses for rotten flesh, but nothing I need currently. Jerky is an option, but that requires salt. Salt is easy to get through PAMs, but that does require some auto crafting, which I don't really have yet. And I could turn it to leather. Nutrient distillation is another option at some point. I don't need it quite yet, so that will be a later time. Jerky also from the drying rack, but that's slow as heck, so not worth the time at the moment. Another thing that I did see there is that I could use it for making dirt at some point, so I may automate that too. But we will see. But I have power generating here, so let's look into getting a pulverizer. Pulverizer is flint. More copper than I currently have available. That's unfortunate. That is 2 gears, which is 8 copper. I had 7 before I made the leadstone energy cell, so I should only have 4 left. Or I am misremembering entirely. I'm okay with misremembering at this point. However, I do have 1 single iron ingot left. At the very least, I need 1 for the piston, 1 for each of the gears, and then 4, 5 for the tin gears. So I need to fix that situation. I don't have any easy source at the moment except for my loot. I have gotten some iron armor from loot bags, and that cooks up just fine in the smeltery. This will return back, I believe, the entire 8 ingots it requires to make the chest plate, but I'm not positive. There might be a loss. Some methods for processing these give 6, 6, and 8. 6. So this returns 1152, which I do believe is the full 8, because I think it's somewhere around 1200 for the 9 for an iron block. So I do believe that this gives me the full return, which is very nice. So I have quite a few to cook up here, and I will do that and be back. Alright, that is all cooked up. And now I can cast a block. In case you weren't familiar with what this side was, I was doing ingots over here. This can do a whole block of metal. So that's handy. And you can see I already have 3 blocks of iron with a 4th incoming, plus a spare 3 ingots. So I got quite a bit from that armor, which means that loot can be a good source of actually collecting that stuff. I also can get a good source of leather, not from imp skin, but from the leather caps and other armors. So there's some good stuff that can come out of loot that can be farmed pretty well. I just need to actually process it all, which can be the challenge, especially automating it with that much income. So I'll have to figure out some answers to that, but for right now, let's finish making that pulverizer. So first off, we need this, which I brilliantly forgot to grab the gold, which is a reception coil. This coil is used for any machine that takes power incoming. The one that I used on the energy cell was the opposite of that, used on any device that can receive power. 2 copper gears, a piston. Yes, I need to turn my iron back into 2 ingots. A piston, I said. And machine frame, the basic. So I need tin gear. And then I need more glass, which, yet again, I forgot to do. So let's do that. This is why I want a pulverizer, by the way. Because as handy as it is to have a permanent chicken stick, I would like to not have to do that manually every single time. Now I also plan on doing a redstone furnace or some other energy-powered smelting option. But for right now, this is where all of my duplication is happening. So all of my ingots come through here. So I would just need something automated that doesn't require doubling, like a redstone furnace or whatever, but that does require power production, which I kind of barely have at the moment. Just feeding this thing manually for now. It is almost full though, which is nice. Alright. So now back to that machine frame. And the pulverizer. The pulverizer goes in that lovely spot I put here to receive power. And then as a test, I will get some leather. This should grind itself down into leather. Wonderful. So yet again, sparing my poor cow from being ground up in dust. That will help me process a little bit more of this incoming material by grinding it down. Still doesn't tackle all of the problems, but it does tackle the other problem of having to hammer things. So I'll grind this down into gravel. The other thing it does, which I'm not sure we'll see here, is, if I recall correctly, cobble grinding and pulverizer has a chance to produce a secondary of sand. So that can be my sand production as well. If it's not enough sand coming out of this, then I may do a second pulverizer to take gravel down to sand, etc. I'll probably end up doing that anyway for a full setup. Hey, there's some sand, speak of the devil. So an automated setup will take this, pulverize gravel and sand and dust, and then use sifting methods for automated collection of the other resources that are done through sifting. So that is my quality of life improvement here. The other one that I wanted to do is more transfer pipes. So transfer pipes, redstone, glass, and I will use aluminum because it has limited uses otherwise. I need more glass, so I will take this gravel, glass, and I got some dust as a byproduct there. And I will smelt this up. I don't actually need all of that. I only need the 2. And transfer pipes. I missed. There we go. Crafting station. I was wondering where my question mark was. So transfer pipes is a very, very simple change, but it's an important change nonetheless. Now you can see the numbers going up. It is transferring cobblestone one at a time into the crucible, where it is then melting down into lava. So now I have permanent lava production rather than me having to jam cobblestone into here manually. Now, what I will do after that is right there is my tank, and I will get a fluid transfer node. Transfer node fluid. Oh, so pricey. Another block of redstone. Or I could do an ender pearl. I do have some of those that I've gotten from reward bags. And I'm so desperately low on redstone, so I might have to do that. It does give me 4 nodes though, which is handy for later use. So I need 2 lapis, bucket, and iron. Have a spare iron bucket over here. Lapis in here. And transfer node liquids. So since I've got such a tight squeeze here, I'm going to go ahead and put this down first. And then put that down. That's taking lava in and dumping it into my... I'm assuming it's dumping it. Oh, that's not what I wanted to happen at all. It's dumping lava into the smelter main instead of the tank. Well, that's gonna have to stop. Huh. Interesting. Oh, I can't acquire that. Ah, I can reach it that way. So that is something that I will have to figure out. I'm not entirely sure how I will clean that out, because I can't dump it into here. I may have to break the controller and redo it. Not a huge deal, but definitely an interesting challenge. So I will have to do some tinkering to figure out how to get this lava into that tank specifically without doing this mess here. I don't know how I'm going to handle that yet. That's fine, that's fine. Let me review my checklist for the day and I will return. Alright, I think I figured out the problem. See that connection right there? That is a connection to the tank and to the smeltery drain. So it was basically, I was telling it to go in there. I'm not smart sometimes. So the question is, how do we get it to stop doing that? And I'm not entirely sure I can do that with this pipe. Because it's either on, off, or whichever. So I may need to use a different piping mechanic. And I think that's going to be conduits, because conduits are my favorite. I happen to have gotten some conduit binder from loot bags, which is nice. And if I use the conduit binder, I can make fluid conduits out of quite clear glass. I do not have quite clear glass, but I do have chisel. Little bit cheaty, but I'm kind of okay with that. So iron is there. Chisel should just be stick plus, there we go. So then you would take the chisel and chisel glass, which I may or may not have created enough of. Did not. One more. One more. Alright, so then we take our chisel, put the glass in, and pull out the quite clear glass. That saves us from having to do an alloy smelter just yet, although I plan to anyway. And glass, and binders, fluid conduits. So these have a little bit more precise control. I do believe I need my crescent hammer, which I also acquired from a loot bag. Something tells me those loot bags are a little bit not conducive to the standard skyblock method we'll go with. So this lets me disable this connection and leave this connection. So now we've got this, and I can turn this into extract always. And that should do it. Wonderful. So that solves that problem. I did have to break the smeltery to get rid of all the lava in there. I could have pumped it out, but I had nowhere to pump it to, so I was just willing to forego that little bit of lava. So let's dump off our extra stuff here. Extra stuff. I did have to make an extra seared brick to see if I could figure that out, but that was not necessary, so whatever. Now, the other thing that I wanted to make as a quality of life improvement is something called Ewy's Workshop. E-W-Y. If you're familiar with Steve's Workshop, this is a fan port of it, if you will. As far as we can tell, VSWE, I believe it is, abandoned that mod. I believe he did it as like a 5 or 6 day challenge, if I remember right from his video, and hasn't really touched it much since then, but it's a pretty nifty mod. So someone decided to take it up. He did credit the author, but the author did not ever respond for any sort of approval or permission, so who knows how long this mod might actually stick around. It's relatively cheap though. I need a blank upgrade, And that's just stone, so let's do that. Blank upgrade. I want 5 of them for another plan. 1 workshop. Now this is a nifty piece of work. I will actually need crafting station and 1 more for good measure. So this is a nifty piece of work here. Sure, why not? Let's just load up this pile. It's pretty blank. There's nothing here to work with at the moment. That's where upgrades come in. There are 4 possible slots, and with each thing that you put in, those slots open up. And if you reactivate here, I now have 2 crafting grids to work with. So it's pretty nifty, and it works similar to the crafting station here, where it keeps the inventory of the crafting grid. So I think I will just have this as my replacement crafting system, because it's nifty. Now, the other thing it can do is steal my furnaces here, go back into upgrades, and plop in the furnaces. Keep going back there. So this side now, each one of these is a furnace. And let's grab 1 of these or so. Furnace. But it's not cooking. That's because down here is power. It does need to be powered. And then it cooks stuff up as if it were a regular furnace. Now the benefit to this, as I was kind of complaining about earlier, is that sometimes you use a charcoal and you burn up 4 items and you waste the rest of the charcoal. Well, in this case, it just keeps the power in reserve here and stops. So I no longer need to rely on sticks for more precise control of my furnacing, which is handy. And with each one you put in there, it just fills up and done. So that is a nifty thing. Now the other nifty thing is it's got upgrades. It's got an auto crafter upgrade. So if I were to, I don't know, let's do this. If I were to do that, I could pull out my charcoal block, or I could auto craft it, and it will just craft them as many times as necessary for the materials that it has available. So that's nifty. Storage upgrade actually just adds a little 5-slot storage under each of these crafting grids, so not a huge deal for me right now. Charger upgrade allows the furnace and the auto crafter to charge up when not in use. It takes a lot more energy to do it, but this bar will fill up on its own even when not in use, so that when you come by and plop something down into the grid, it will automatically do that action. So it will automatically smelt 4 things for me, or whichever, for the charge. So that's handy, but it is a power sink, so I'm not going to do that. Speed upgrade does increase the production speed. I don't know for sure if it uses more energy or not. That's fine. Input queue, that just allows you to stack more things ready to go for the furnace. The efficiency upgrade is the one that I want, though. It improves fuel efficiency of solid fuel types. Lava power upgrade as well, so I could actually pump lava straight into this thing and just use that as the fuel source. I may actually end up doing that at some point. There's also an RF acceptor upgrade, which changes it to accept RF power. So once I switch to a RF heavy system for energy production, I might change that out, or I'll have something else entirely besides this grid by then. Who knows? Solar power upgrade does allow it to accept solar power. It is incredibly slow though, so it's not terribly worth my time. Auto transfer allows it to feed items in and out of the table automatically. I actually have a plan for this, so I might use that in a little bit. Filter just lets you decide which items you want in or out, and then capacity transfer, that one allows you to transfer more items at a time. I think the default is 1, and then it goes up to 4, 8, 16, and 32 and 64. So those things can be handy depending on how I want to automate it, but otherwise it's a nifty tool. Efficiency upgrade, a little bit pricey, but not too bad. Do I even have enough? Ooh, that's an interesting thing. Let's see if that works. Get my redstone back. I hope that this does what it needs to do. Oh, thank goodness. It does put the stuff in there by a shift click, so that's good. Clear grid just dumps everything back in your inventory, so that's good. Which means I do need more, I believe it was wood that I was shy on. So let me grab, oh sure, why not my rubber. I will grab that. And this. 1, 2, 3, 4 of those upgrades. And then I need a little bit more cobble, of all things. This one, I need 8 pistons, or furnaces, sorry. And then I think I have all I need for this. Let's go straight into the upgrades. Now this down here, it's highlighting the global upgrade section because this will affect everything that's in here. And it is efficiency. So that's just overall fuel efficiency for this thing here. So notice that's a lot more per tick than it was previously. So now this thing will fill up on much fewer charcoal than before. So that's very nifty, which means my furnaces are now very efficient as well. So if I'm cooking up a lot of glass, which apparently I'm prone to do, it will just use less energy. I like it. I like it. Now if I wanted, I could double stack here and run both of those at the same time. So it is much more efficient. Now what I may end up doing eventually is have one of these that's just furnaces and be a lot more efficient and speedy with my furnacing. That is nifty. I like it. I don't know where I'm going to put it yet, but it can go right there for now. Might end up just removing these crafting stations or plopping them around the base at random points just to have crafting grids available. Although these might just end up being everywhere because they're nifty. So that is that. That is pretty much most of what I had planned for today, actually. I've got my energy going, got my pulverizer, which is in the book, craft and power a generator of some kind. I have not fully automated it yet, but I do plan to. Energy conduits to power several machines at once. I'm actually using a energy cell for that, but whatever. Automate, automate, automate. I have not done any of that yet. Let's see. Nope, haven't done any of that. So I only got one thing done from the book, but that's fine. I got a lot of things done outside of the book that are going to help me quite a lot. So next time, I don't know, we might do a little bit more of an automated sifting setup and maybe some automated energy. I do have quite a bit here, but that can change as soon as I start automating things. So I will figure out what kind of fun we're going to have next time, and I will be back in the next episode with more automation, more sky blocking, and more fun. See ya!